Nothing and nobody will ever hurt you again. No one can hurt me without my permission. Mahatma Gandhi. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to walk through life unshaken, untouched by judgment, rejection, or the pain others once caused you? In today's video from Spiritual Wisdom, we explore the timeless insights of Carl Jung and how true healing begins when you reclaim your inner power. These aren't just theories. They're principles you can apply every day to build resilience, emotional freedom, and lasting peace. So before we begin, ask yourself, what if the pain you've carried could finally set you free? Comment below with your thoughts or share your story. Your voice may inspire someone else's breakthrough. Let's dive in. 1. The battle is within. The role of the unconscious. As long as your unconscious remains hidden, it quietly governs your life, shaping your choices, emotions, and reactions in ways you can't fully see. And yet, you call it fate. You wonder why pain keeps coming back, why similar wounds resurface, why the same emotional storms return no matter how much you change your surroundings. But the answer is not outside of you. It lives deep within. Pain, anger, and sadness are not random burdens. They are messenger signals from repressed parts of your psyche, calling out to be seen, heard, and finally understood. When you ignore them, they don't disappear. They grow roots and silently dictate the direction of your life, showing up as anxiety, chaos, or cycles you can't seem to escape. Suppressing your truth only feeds the shadows. Every time you silence your grief, swallow your rage, or pretend you're fine when you're not, you plant seeds of inner fragmentation. Those seeds grow into patterns that repeat over and over until you stop and face them. It's not a weakness to feel deeply. What weakens you is avoidance. Because the moment you judge your pain or deny your sadness, you reinforce the lie that parts of you are unworthy of love. That's when the real suffering begins, not because of what others do to you, but because of how much of yourself you feel forced to hide. Healing starts when you stop fighting your own emotions. Spiritual awakening isn't about becoming endlessly calm or universally forgiving. It's about becoming fully conscious. That means turning toward what hurts, what's buried, what was too overwhelming to feel before. Integration is the true medicine. You don't heal by pushing darkness away. You heal by allowing it to come into the light, by gently sitting with your wounds and letting them speak. When you welcome these neglected parts of yourself, something powerful happens. The pain loses its grip, and you reclaim the pieces of your soul that were once forgotten. You realize that no one can hurt you unless there's already a wound inside waiting to be triggered. That's the great liberation. The world may still act as it always has, but you no longer respond with the same inner chaos. Why? Because you are no longer a prisoner of your unconscious. You've met your pain with compassion, your fear with presence, your sorrow with understanding. And when you do this, the war inside ends. You become whole, not by erasing your darkness, but by making it conscious, just as Carl Jung taught. This is the heart of spiritual awakening, not escaping life, but embracing every part of your inner world with truth, love, and unwavering awareness. Have you ever listened to the voice of your unconscious? If so, share your experience in the comments to help others feel less alone. If not, comment, "I'm ready to face it," and let's begin this powerful journey of healing and integration together. 2. Pain comes from within, not from others. What hurts the most is rarely what others do to you. It's what their actions stir up inside. A harsh comment, a sudden rejection, a betrayal they strike not because they are inherently powerful, but because they awaken something unresolved within you. Carl Jung called this the meeting point between the outer world and the unconscious, the place where life's events become mirrors, reflecting back the wounds you haven't yet healed. The pain doesn't originate in the event. It emerges from the story, the memory, the emotional scar that lives quietly beneath the surface. This is the essence of spiritual wisdom. Pain is a signal, not a sentence. When someone's words shatter your sense of peace, it's not their voice that has power. It's your own inner vulnerability responding. Maybe you were dismissed in a meeting and suddenly felt invisible. That moment taps into a long-buried belief that your presence doesn't matter. Or perhaps someone you love pulls away, and the ache isn't just about them. It's a childhood fear of being abandoned all over again. In this way, the world doesn't injure you, it reveals you. Carl Jung taught that true freedom begins when we recognize this inner dynamic. It's not about blaming yourself, it's about reclaiming your authorship. Others lose their power the moment you realize that the trigger is not the cause, but the invitation. Every emotional reaction is a doorway. Every sting is a map leading back to a place that longs to be seen and healed. That's not a weakness. That's the birthplace of self-mastery. In modern life, these triggers are constant. A friend's success on social media makes you question your worth. A partner's silence leaves you spiraling in doubt. A stranger's criticism ruins your whole day. But the truth is, none of these moments have authority over you unless you grant it. The moment you understand that the source of pain is internal, you are no longer a victim. You are a seeker of truth. The path of healing, then, is not to harden yourself or escape emotion, but to meet each wave of feeling with compassion and curiosity. You don't need to become untouchable. You need to become aware. When you bring your attention to the wound instead of the weapon, you start to shift. You stop defending and start listening. You stop hiding and begin integrating. And in that space, nobody, not even the harshest critic or the deepest betrayal, can truly harm you. Carl Jung's insight is timeless. What happens inside you determines everything. When you stop being reactive and start being reflective, you reclaim the power you unknowingly gave away. You step into a life where every experience becomes a teacher, where pain no longer controls you, but guides you, where the world may still be chaotic, but your inner life is rooted in peace and presence. This is not about building walls, it's about becoming whole. And when you are whole, nothing and nobody can break you again. Are you ready to reclaim your power from within? If this message speaks to your heart, comment below. I will heal within to show your commitment to inner transformation. 3. The illusion of strength and the hidden pain. Many people dream of becoming emotionally untouchable, unshaken by rejection, immune to betrayal, and indifferent to criticism. On the surface, this sounds like strength. But behind that desire often lies a hidden truth: the longing to escape the pain that once broke us. The image of being unbreakable becomes a mask we wear to feel safe, a performance we maintain to protect the wounded parts of ourselves that never fully healed. Yet spiritual wisdom reminds us that when we try to numb pain, we also numb joy. When we suppress what hurts, we suppress what is real. Trying to uphold the illusion of strength, pretending everything is fine while you're silently falling apart, only deepens the suffering. It turns the soul into a battlefield where the heart quietly bleeds while the face smiles. Carl Jung saw this clearly. He understood that much of what we call strength is really just fear in disguise. The fear of being seen as weak, the fear of being rejected again, the fear of being vulnerable in a world that often punishes tenderness. But the cost of this illusion is steep. It disconnects us from our inner truth, from our ability to feel deeply and live fully. As long as we try to avoid pain, we remain controlled by it. It lingers beneath the surface, influencing our choices, our relationships, our self-worth. We may think we're protecting ourselves, but in reality, we're keeping ourselves trapped in patterns of emotional numbness and spiritual stagnation. Pain that is denied doesn't disappear. It becomes part of the lens through which we see the world. The more we resist it, the more it persists. This is where the real shift begins, not by pushing pain away, but by facing it with open eyes and an open heart. True strength, then, isn't the absence of pain. It's the ability to stay present with yourself while you're hurting. It's knowing who you are in the middle of the storm. It's choosing to stay connected to your essence even when everything around you is trying to pull you back into old fears and patterns. This kind of strength doesn't come from performance. It comes from presence. It's quiet. It's grounded. It doesn't shout, but it never breaks. The deepest spiritual wisdom teaches that nothing and nobody will ever truly hurt you again, not because the world will become kinder, but because you will stop abandoning yourself to please it. You will no longer betray your soul for the sake of appearances. You will no longer sacrifice your truth to earn acceptance. When you stop resisting pain, you become free. When you embrace your humanity with compassion, you become whole. Pain loses its power when you stop running from it, and in that moment, you remember who you've always been. Not untouchable, but unshakable. If you're ready to release the illusion of invincibility and embrace your true strength, the raw, honest, and human comment below, I allow myself to feel and heal. 4. Individuation, becoming whole, not perfect. Carl Jung taught that individuation is not about striving for perfection, but about becoming whole, integrating every part of your being, especially the ones you've been taught to hide. Most of us think healing means fixing what's broken, improving what's lacking, or becoming someone better. But the truth is, you are not here to become better. You are here to become real, to remember the parts of yourself you disowned, to embrace the full spectrum of your existence, joy and grief, confidence and doubt, beauty and pain, and allow them to coexist without shame. The more you run from pain, the more power it has over you. The moment you try to bury it, suppress it, or mask it with positivity, it begins to rule your life from behind the scenes. People often confuse emotional numbness with strength, but Jung made it clear. Repression only deepens suffering. What we refuse to face will continue to control us. And it's not the pain itself that makes us fragile. It's the resistance to feeling it. There's a woman I once knew who wore her achievements like armor. She was successful, admired, and always in control. But beneath it all, she was terrified of being vulnerable. Every failure felt like a collapse. Every criticism cut deeper than it should have. Her strength was performative. She didn't need more achievements. She needed to grieve. She needed to sit with her loneliness without trying to escape it. When she finally did, she stopped trying to be perfect. She started becoming whole. Her transformation didn't come from learning more. It came from unlearning the belief that she had to earn her worth. Carl Jung believed that the shadow, the part of ourselves we hide, is not our enemy. It is our teacher. And until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our lives, and we will call it fate. That's why the path to inner freedom is not about becoming untouchable or immune to life's pain. It's about becoming intimate with it. The pain does not disappear, but your relationship with it changes. You stop reacting and you start observing. You stop identifying with your wounds and start recognizing them as part of your human story, not the whole of it. You will find real strength the day you stop trying to appear strong and start being honest. The day you hold your sadness without rushing to fix it. The day you look into the mirror, see every contradiction, and say, I still belong. You don't need to fight your darkness to be free. You need to include it. That's what wholeness is. And when you finally become whole, when you accept the light and the shadow, the ego and the soul, nothing and nobody can hurt you in the same way again. Because your safety no longer depends on the outside world. It comes from the truth within you. Stay connected with our spiritual wisdom community by subscribing to the channel. Here, we explore the journey of becoming whole, not perfect, through self-awareness, healing, and truth. Remember, your contradictions aren't flaws. They're keys to your freedom. You are not broken. You are becoming. Let's walk this path together. 5. Becoming untouchable comes from acceptance, not defense. Real emotional invulnerability is not about building walls or pretending you're unaffected. It's about developing such deep inner clarity that you no longer need to defend yourself. The phrase, I don't care, has become a mask that many wear, but behind it, there's often a heart that's quietly bleeding. What most people call strength is often just suppression. But true power doesn't come from hiding your pain. It comes from accepting it, from looking it in the eye without flinching, and choosing to integrate it instead of running away. When you suppress your wounds, they don't disappear. They go underground. They show up in defensiveness, in emotional numbness, in the inability to truly connect. That's why so many people appear strong, but are secretly exhausted. They're fighting battles with themselves just to appear okay. But spiritual wisdom teaches that real transformation doesn't begin with pretending you're above the pain. It begins when you stop judging yourself for having it. Your pain, your fear, your shame. These aren't weaknesses. They are portals. Portals to your most authentic self. To integrate your shadow means to sit with what you usually avoid. It means not pushing away your rage or your grief, but asking, what do you need to tell me? The more you do this, the more you begin to realize that emotions are just energy-seeking acknowledgement. And once acknowledged, they lose their power to control you. You stop reacting impulsively. You start responding with clarity. You stop being ruled by past wounds. Instead, you observe them, honor them, and gently disarm them. This doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop collapsing every time someone triggers you. You become rooted in yourself. Your peace is no longer negotiable. When people insult you, you no longer take it personally. When they abandon you, you no longer lose yourself. You begin to understand that other people's actions are not about your worth. They are reflections of their own wounds. And so you stop internalizing their chaos. You become untouchable, not because you're closed off, but because you're open to your truth, open to your feelings, and open to healing. This is not the cold, sharp strength the world glorifies. It's a quiet, grounded strength. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything. The kind that radiates from within. When you embody this energy, even your silence becomes powerful. Even your presence becomes protection. You realize that the real battlefield was never outside, it was always within. And once you stop fighting yourself, the outside world loses its grip on your soul. You no longer need to control everything. You no longer need to be liked. You no longer need to win every battle. Because you've already won the one that mattered most. The battle to come home to yourself. That's when nothing and nobody can truly hurt you. Not because you've become hard, but because you've become whole. If this message resonates with your heart, take a moment to declare it. I become untouchable through acceptance, not defense. I embrace my truth and trust the process. Let this be your affirmation today. And if you feel it deeply, comment below and share your light with others on this path. 6. Few will walk this path, but it's the only real freedom. Most people will never choose this path, not because it is hidden, but because it demands depth over comfort, truth over convenience. Carl Jung called it individuation, the process of becoming whole by facing the parts of yourself you've been taught to ignore, reject, or fear. It is not a journey of becoming better. It is the courageous unraveling of who you thought you had to be, so that your true self can emerge not as a performance, but as your natural state. This path strips away illusions. You no longer seek approval or wear emotional masks for protection. The idea that emotional armor is a shield falls apart. True emotional strength is not about building walls. It is about integration. You do not harden. You soften into your center. You stop reacting. You start responding. Life no longer pulls you from the outside because something unshakable has taken root within. The noise of the world fades, not because it disappears, but because it loses power over your peace. Carl Jung understood that the deepest suffering comes from living a life that betrays your essence. Many people feel exhausted not because they are weak, but because they are disconnected. They live in constant performance, smiling on the outside, bleeding silently within. That's the tragedy of our time, mistaking connection for meaning, applause for self-worth. But when you walk the path of individuation, you begin to dismantle the lies. You stop asking, "Who do they want me to be?" and start asking, "Who am I when no one's watching?" A woman once described reaching success by society's standards of wealth, recognition, stability, yet feeling hollow at the height of her accomplishments. Her soul had gone quiet, so she walked away, not to escape, but to rediscover. She sat with her wounds. She listened to the inner child she had silenced. She faced the shadow she had spent years avoiding. And in doing so, she didn't become someone new. She remembered someone ancient within herself. That is spiritual wisdom. That is healing. The more you walk this path, the less you explain yourself. You don't need to be understood by people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't perform strength. You radiate peace. You don't suppress your wounds. You integrate them. You don't fear rejection because you are no longer seeking belonging outside yourself. When you are whole, even your silence speaks louder than someone else's performance. Carl Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." That choice is yours, every single day. Not to be untouchable in the way the world defines it, but to be whole in the way the soul craves. The more you embody your inner truth, the more untouchable you become, not because nothing hurts, but because nothing breaks you. You are no longer held hostage by the fear of loss, rejection, or judgment, because you've reclaimed the very parts of you that were once used to control you. Few will walk this path, but those who do will discover a freedom that can't be taken, a peace that doesn't need permission, and a strength that isn't reactive, it simply is. That is the quiet power of becoming whole. That is the spiritual wisdom Carl Jung devoted his life to sharing. 7. True strength is born in the ruins of the ego. True strength is born in the ruins of the ego, where everything you once relied on, your titles, your image, your old stories, no longer hold. Growth does not begin with gaining something new. It begins with losing what is false. You start to outgrow the roles you once clung to, the beliefs you inherited to survive, and the masks you wore to be loved. The more deeply you evolve, the more you realize that these masks kept you safe, but they also kept you small. Letting go is painful, but it is also necessary. Carl Jung called this the process of individuation, not becoming perfect, but becoming whole. When life tears down what you've built, you come face to face with yourself, not the version of you who performs, pleases, or pretends, but the one who's been quietly waiting underneath all the noise. That collapse, the heartbreak, the loss, the moment when everything stops making sense is not a mistake. It's a sacred invitation. What feels like the end is often the soul's way of calling you back to truth. The ego fears this unraveling because it thrives on identity and control. But the soul sees freedom in the fall. Beneath every breakdown is the opportunity to break through. Pain, though uncomfortable, is the most honest mirror you'll ever look into. It doesn't lie. It exposes the illusions you've mistaken for truth. It shows you what's wounded, what's been abandoned inside you, and what is finally ready to be seen. Instead of pushing it away or numbing it down, you begin to sit with it, breathe into it, and listen. You learn that suffering is not a punishment from life, but a doorway to awareness. This is spiritual wisdom. Pain cleanses the spirit of deception and softens the walls built by fear. Every wound becomes a message, every scar, a sign that something has been transformed. And this is the sacred crossing from the ego's frantic need to fix and control, to the soul's quiet power of presence. When you stop trying to prove yourself and start feeling yourself, everything shifts. You are no longer desperate to be untouched by life. Instead, you become open, grounded, deeply connected. Your power is no longer reactive, it's receptive. You don't resist the moment, you become the moment. That is what makes you untouchable, not because you feel no pain, but because you are no longer owned by it. This is the essence of spiritual awakening. The ego breaks so the soul can breathe. Nothing outside you can truly harm you once you return to who you really are. Not because you are armored, but because you are aligned. When you stop clinging to who you were, you finally make room for who you are meant to be. And in that space, in that silence, you find a strength the ego could never touch. 8. Suffering is the beginning of transformation. Suffering is not the enemy. It's a sacred signal, a whisper from the soul that something within you needs to be seen, felt, and healed. Depression is not a flaw in your character. Anxiety is not a defect in your design. And apathy is not laziness. These are the cries of forgotten emotions, the echoes of pain you've pushed aside for far too long. Carl Jung once said that pain is a messenger. So instead of silencing it, avoiding it, or masking it with distractions, you are invited to listen. Because the moment you begin to listen, you begin to awaken. Spiritual awakening doesn't begin with clarity. It often starts with confusion. When you can no longer fake your way through life, when your old masks no longer fit, and when joy seems like a distant memory, this is not the end. It's the threshold. You're not breaking down. You're breaking open. The darkness you feel isn't punishment. It's preparation. The emptiness is not failure. It's a sacred space being cleared for the truth. And the truth is this: you don't need fixing. You need to be met with compassion, especially in your most fragile places. When you stop resisting your pain, something shifts. The energy you once spent running, hiding, or numbing is now available for healing, for integration, for transformation. Jung reminds us that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That means the stories you keep reliving, the same heartbreak, the same self-doubt, the same emotional triggers, are not curses. They're invitations. They're the soul's way of guiding you back to yourself over and over again until you finally choose to come home. This process isn't comfortable, but it is sacred. You will grieve things you thought you got over. You will feel emotions you never had words for. You will face the version of you that you abandoned just to survive. But in doing so, you will reclaim your wholeness. You'll see that your wounds didn't make you weak. They made you wise. You'll realize that your sensitivity is not a burden. It's a bridge to the divine. The world may teach you to be untouchable, to stay strong, to smile through the storm. But true strength is not the absence of pain. It's the presence of courage. The courage to sit with yourself. The courage to stop pretending. The courage to feel everything fully, honestly, and without shame. Because once you allow yourself to feel, you stop being a victim of your pain and become a vessel of your power. This is the essence of spiritual wisdom. It's not about escaping suffering, but learning from it. It's not about bypassing your darkness, but walking through it with light. You don't transcend pain by ignoring it. You transcend it by understanding it, by honoring it, and by allowing it to reveal the parts of you that are still alive, still longing, still holy. Spiritual awakening is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been beneath the layers of protection. It's about returning to the self that trusts its own voice, feels its own truth, and knows its own worth, not because it was taught, but because it was remembered through the fire. 9. Consciousness is the final shield. External suffering is endless when you remain unconscious of your inner wounds. You can change your job, your partner, your city, but if the same emotions follow you everywhere, the pain will return in new forms. What truly hurts isn't the event itself, but the story you tell yourself about it, the way old trauma colors present experience. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists." And it's true. The emotions you suppress don't disappear. They wait. They hide behind your smiles, behind your ambition, behind your silence, until one day, something small breaks you and you don't even know why. Awakening is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice, a quiet revolution within. Each day, you are faced with moments that invite you to choose awareness over reaction, presence over avoidance. Most people run from their pain by blaming others. But healing begins the moment you stop pointing outward and begin to ask, why did this hurt me so deeply? That question doesn't make you weak. It makes you free. When you stop pretending and start listening, you no longer need to defend yourself against life. You become someone who can feel without drowning. Immunity is not the absence of pain. It's the clarity to see pain for what it is, a signal, not a threat. You don't have to become hard to protect yourself. In fact, the harder you become, the more fragile you feel. Real strength is soft. It's rooted. It says, I can feel this and still stay present. That is what makes you untouchable, not because you don't feel, but because your feelings no longer control you. When you integrate what you once denied grief, fear, anger, you stop living in reaction. You start living in truth. Spiritual awakening is this exact moment of honesty, when you choose to face what's inside, not escape it. And in doing so, you finally understand nothing and nobody ever really hurt you. They only revealed what was already wounded. This isn't to blame. It's liberation. You're not a victim of the world. You're the one holding the key. So if there is something in you that is ready to feel without fear, to transform without pretending, comment, I choose awareness. That decision, made over and over, is the path out of suffering. Not perfection, not numbness, but awareness. And from that awareness, a new life begins, where you are no longer dependent on the world, but guided by the truth from within. No matter what you've been through, always remember this. You are no longer the same person who once felt powerless. You've grown. You've awakened. And now, nothing and nobody will ever hurt you the same way again. You carry within you the wisdom, strength, and clarity to protect your peace and walk your path with confidence. If this message touched your soul, please give this video a thumbs up. Share it with someone who needs this reminder, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more powerful insights like this. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming videos on healing, awakening, and inner power. Stay strong, stay wise, stay grounded. The meaning of your birth month will change your entire life. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Have you ever wondered why you were born in a specific month and what deeper meaning it might hold for your soul's journey? In today's episode on Spiritual Wisdom, we explore how the symbolism of your birth month, according to Jungian psychology, may reveal powerful clues about your emotional patterns, inner gifts, and life purpose. These insights are more than just interesting. They can help you grow, heal, and align with your truest self. So as you listen, reflect on your own birth month and ask yourself, what might the timing of my arrival be trying to teach me? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what resonates with you. 1. The deeper meaning of your birth month. Carl Jung believed that nothing in life is truly random, not even the month in which you were born. While society often treats your birth date as a mere formality, Jung saw it as a symbolic key, a meaningful entry point into the architecture of your psyche. He proposed that each month is more than just a segment of the calendar. It holds energetic and emotional qualities that imprint on the soul, much like the changing of seasons affects the earth. From this perspective, your birth month becomes a psychological gateway, shaping your internal world, your emotional tone, and your spiritual orientation toward life. This isn't about superstition. It's not about predicting your future or boxing you into personality types. Rather, it's a symbolic framework for introspection, an invitation to observe the unseen rhythms that quietly govern your personality and behavior. In Jungian psychology, symbols and archetypes are the language of the unconscious. Just as the mother, the warrior, or the lover live within us as inner patterns, so too do the seasons, spring's birth, summer's radiance, autumn's release, and winter's reflection live within us based on when we entered this world. Your birth month, then, is not random. It is a rhythm. It is resonance. It is nature echoed in human form. Being born in January may come with the energy of silence, endurance, and inner structure, mirroring the stillness of winter and the demand for resilience. A person born in April may carry the archetype of renewal and courage, aligned with nature's explosive bloom into life. Someone born in September might naturally seek balance, order, and a deeper truth, guided by the energy of transition as the world shifts toward stillness. Each month, seen through Jung's lens, becomes a mirror to your psychological blueprint. It doesn't determine your fate, but it reveals patterns, emotional habits, subconscious tendencies, spiritual callings. This awareness brings power. When you understand that your birth month isn't arbitrary, but symbolically rich, you begin to align with your deeper nature. You awaken to your essence. What once seemed like quirks of personality or emotional rhythms now make sense as part of a larger cycle. You stop blaming yourself for your tendencies and start embracing them as signposts guiding you toward wholeness. And that is the core of spiritual wisdom, not to escape who you are, but to understand it so deeply that your life becomes a conscious expression of your inner truth. Jung's teachings remind us that we are born not just into families, societies, or circumstances, but into time itself. And time carries meaning. The month you were born in carries echoes of the Earth's energy, archetypal symbolism, and ancient memory. To live with spiritual wisdom is to pay attention to these echoes, not as rules, but as reflections. Through this lens, your birth month becomes more than a date, it becomes a compass, a symbol, a whisper from the universe reminding you who you were always meant to be. Are you ready to unlock the deeper meaning behind your birth month and embrace your unique path of self-discovery? If this message resonates with you, comment below, "I honor my inner rhythm," to affirm your commitment to this journey of spiritual insight. 2. Time and archetypes. Carl Jung believed that archetypes are not just mythical symbols or abstract concepts. They are living energies, universal blueprints embedded within the collective unconscious that shape the way we think, feel, and behave. These archetypes don't exist in isolation. They are mirrored in the natural cycles of time, especially the seasons. Jung recognized that each season carries distinct symbolic meaning. Winter represents stillness and inner reflection. Spring symbolizes renewal and rebirth. Summer radiates with fullness and outward expression. And autumn brings maturity, letting go, and contemplation. He saw time not just as linear, but as a spiritual map that reveals hidden dimensions of our personality. The month you were born in carries the energetic signature of the season you entered the world. And this, according to Jung, is not random. It subtly shapes the essence of who you are. Being born in winter, for instance, often marks a soul with depth, introspection, and a quiet power. These individuals are frequently drawn to inner work and spiritual wisdom, preferring solitude and silence over noise and distraction. Their strength lies in their ability to listen deeply to life, to people, and to their own soul. By contrast, someone born in spring naturally embodies the spirit of new beginnings. Their energy is curious, creative, and hopeful. They are often drawn to growth, change, and possibilities. Like the first flowers after frost, they push through resistance with gentle persistence. They don't just adapt to change, they initiate it. These individuals thrive in environments where they can plant new seeds, start new chapters, and breathe life into tired routines. Summer-born souls, entering the world during the height of sunlight and activity, often shine brightly with charisma and presence. Their personalities may feel magnetic, expressive, and full of warmth. They are drawn to celebration, connection, and movement. Their archetypal energy mirrors the sun itself, bold, illuminating, and life-giving. These are the people who naturally take center stage, not because they demand it, but because their very being draws others in. Those born in autumn carry the wisdom of transition. Just as trees release their leaves to prepare for winter, autumn-born individuals often know when to let go. They're grounded, observant, and emotionally rich. Their strength lies in their ability to reflect on the past without getting stuck in it. They are natural philosophers, always turning inward to find deeper meaning in life's cycles. They understand impermanence not as loss, but as a sacred part of evolution. This understanding of archetypal time offers profound spiritual wisdom. Rather than seeing our birth month as a mere coincidence, Jung's insights encourage us to view it as a symbolic initiation, a whisper from the cosmos about who we're here to become. By recognizing the seasonal essence of our soul's entry point into this world, we gain clarity about our emotional tendencies, our natural gifts, and even our recurring life lessons. Aligning with this knowledge can transform the way we navigate life. Instead of comparing ourselves to others or forcing ourselves into roles that don't fit, we can honor our inner design. We stop trying to be everything and start becoming who we already are deeply, truthfully, and with purpose. In doing so, we awaken a new relationship with time, not as something that passes us by, but as something that lives within us. And through this awareness, we begin to live not from the outside in, but from the inside out. If you feel aligned with the energy of your birth season and want to explore your inner archetype more deeply, comment below. I am in tune with my season. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of spiritual insight on spiritual wisdom. 3. Birth months as symbolic blueprints. Have you ever wondered if the month you were born in carries a deeper message about your soul's journey? Carl Jung, a pioneer of analytical psychology, believed that time was not merely chronological, it was symbolic. Just as the seasons of nature shift, so too do the energies we're born under. Each birth month, Jung believed, holds a unique archetypal essence that speaks to your inner world, your strengths, your challenges, and even your spiritual awakening. January carries the archetype of the sage or elder. Those born in this month are often grounded, serious, and wise beyond their years. You carry the energy of deep introspection, and others may instinctively turn to you for guidance. There's a calm, stabilizing presence in your nature, as if your soul has lived many lifetimes. Yet in this gift lies your shadow, the tendency to suppress joy, to become so focused on discipline and responsibility that you forget to dance in the rain. Your path of spiritual awakening comes through remembering that laughter is a form of wisdom too, and that being present doesn't always require being solemn. February is the time of the visionary or revolutionary. If you were born under this sign of cosmic rebellion, you likely hold a deep emotional sensitivity paired with a strong desire to challenge norms. You are here to disrupt old systems, to bring new ideas into a world that often resists change. You may feel misunderstood, even alienated, because you speak truths that others are not ready to hear. You're ahead of your time, but your gift becomes a trap when you disconnect too far from reality. To awaken spiritually, you must bridge your inner visions with the outer world. You are not here to escape life. You are here to redesign it. March embodies the reborn or awakener. There's a softness to your soul, but don't confuse it with weakness. You are deeply intuitive, creative, and resilient. You've likely walked through emotional storms that others cannot see, and each time you emerge wiser, more open, more compassionate. You bring spiritual awakening to others simply by being who you are. However, your open heart can become a burden when you lack boundaries. You might absorb the pain of others or lose yourself in their emotions. The key to your growth lies in learning to hold space for others without drowning in their waves. Protect your inner sanctuary. April is ruled by the warrior or initiator. You come into life blazing full of passion, courage, and bold leadership energy. You are the one who breaks through walls, starts revolutions, and lights the fire of transformation. You inspire people not through words, but through action. Yet this powerful fire can burn too hot. Impatience, impulsivity, and burnout are your shadows. You often push forward without giving yourself time to reflect. To fully awaken, you must learn when to act and when to wait. Balance your fire with stillness, and you become not just a fighter, but a force of spiritual purpose. May represents the builder or lover of simplicity. You are someone who treasures the small joys in life: warm meals, soft sunlight, shared laughter. You bring people together through your nurturing presence and practical wisdom. Stability is your strength, but your shadow hides in your resistance to change. You may cling to routines or comfort zones, avoiding the unknown. Yet spiritual awakening asks you to loosen your grip. True security comes not from control, but from inner peace. When you learn to flow with change rather than resist it, you discover a deeper kind of grounding, one rooted in the soul, not circumstance. June is the home of the seeker or mediator. Your mind is curious, your heart is open, and your soul is always looking for meaning. You thrive on conversation, connection, and the exchange of ideas. Your gift lies in your ability to see all sides, to bring harmony through understanding. But with this gift comes the shadow of indecision, overthinking, and distraction. You may spread yourself too thin or hesitate to commit. Spiritual awakening for you means learning to trust your inner compass more than external noise. When you quiet the chatter and focus your energy, your true voice rises, and it is magnetic. July belongs to the nurturer or protector. You love deeply, often without needing a reason. Your empathy is profound, and you intuitively sense the emotions of those around you. You are a safe space in human form. Yet, this beautiful capacity can lead you to neglect yourself. You may put others first to the point of exhaustion, bottling up your own needs and emotions. To awaken spiritually, you must learn to love yourself as fiercely as you love others. Your power doesn't lie in sacrifice, it lies in wholeness. When you allow yourself to receive the care you give, you become unstoppable in your compassion. August shines with the leader or sovereign. There's a regal energy to you, a natural charisma, confidence, and strength that commands attention. You don't just walk into a room, you elevate it. You were born to inspire, to guide, to lead with vision. But your shadow is the fear of being vulnerable. You may hide behind pride or control, believing that weakness is not allowed. Yet your greatest spiritual awakening will come when you let others see your heart, not just your crown. When you lead from love, not ego, you don't just rule, you transform lives. September reveals the analyst or perfectionist. You have an eye for detail, a sharp intellect, and a soul that longs for order in a chaotic world. You see patterns where others see noise. Your work is precise, your words thoughtful, and your life carefully curated. But your shadow is self-criticism and rigidity. You may judge yourself harshly or resist the messiness of growth. Spiritual awakening for you means embracing imperfection not as failure, but as beauty. Life isn't meant to be flawless. It's meant to be lived with heart, with courage, and with grace. October brings forth the diplomat or artist. You are relational, graceful, and drawn to beauty and balance. You often find yourself mediating conflicts, creating harmony, and making the world feel a little softer. Your appreciation for art, love, and fairness is unmatched. Yet your shadow can manifest as people-pleasing or conflict avoidance. You may silence your truth to keep the peace. Your awakening lies in realizing that true harmony comes from honesty, not avoidance. Speak your truth beautifully, and you'll inspire others to do the same. November holds the depth of the alchemist or transformer. Your energy is intense, mysterious, and emotionally profound. You are drawn to the hidden realms of existence, spirituality, shadow work, healing. You've likely experienced pain that forced you to evolve again and again. Your gift is transformation, turning wounds into wisdom. But your shadow is emotional heaviness and the fear of letting go. You may carry too much, hold too tightly. To awaken, you must surrender. Transformation is not control, it's trust in the divine timing of your soul's evolution. December is the month of the wise teacher or visionary sage. You carry ancient wisdom paired with youthful hope. Your mind is philosophical, your heart is generous, and your spirit longs for meaning. You see beyond the surface, always searching for spiritual truths. However, your shadow lies in disconnecting from the present moment. You may become so caught up in your dreams that you forget to live them. Spiritual awakening for you is grounding your visions in reality, bringing your inner wisdom into the now, where it can truly change lives. Each birth month carries a unique archetypal energy that can help you better understand your strengths, shadows, and soul path. If today's insight helped you recognize your deeper blueprint, comment below. I embrace my birth month energy. Your reflections mean a lot to us, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom so you never miss a new revelation. 4. Birth Month. Symbolic imprint. Your birth month carries more than just a calendar label. According to Carl Jung's deep psychological insight, it acts as a symbolic imprint, a silent signature of energy and archetypal meaning that colors the atmosphere you were born into. This imprint doesn't dictate your fate, but it subtly shapes your inner landscape. It's not about astrology or prediction. It's about recognizing that time itself holds meaning. And when you entered this world, you were woven into a specific emotional and energetic fabric. Each month radiates a different mood, a different soul climate. Being born in January might align you with winter's inward stillness and discipline, while a July birth may attune your being to warmth, emotional richness, and intuitive flow. These moods are not personality types. They're deep undercurrents that gently influence how you relate to life, how you approach challenge, and how you unfold spiritually. This is what Jung referred to as symbolic resonance, a hidden rhythm between inner and outer worlds that reveals itself through spiritual wisdom and quiet observation. Understanding the symbolic imprint of your birth month gives you more than just insight. It gives you a map, a psychological map, not of where you'll go, but of how you move through life. It helps you see the natural gifts you were born with, the emotional patterns you tend to repeat, and the deeper purpose you're meant to awaken. Spiritual awakening begins when you learn to read these symbols not as rigid rules, but as sacred clues guiding you back to yourself. Instead of seeing your birth month as a fixed trait, imagine it as a doorway, a passageway that opens into a season of the soul. Some are born into the energy of beginning, others into growth, harvest, or reflection. These cycles, just like the seasons of the earth, bring lessons. If you align with them, you move with the current of your life rather than against it. You become more self-aware, more compassionate with your flaws, and more grounded in your purpose. This isn't superstition, it's archetypal truth. We are all born into time, but few ever stop to ask what time they were born into. What were the emotional qualities of that moment? What kind of light, what kind of shadow were you wrapped in when you took your first breath? These questions are the beginning of self-knowledge, the path of individuation. Jung spoke of a path that leads not to perfection, but to wholeness. And so, your birth month is not a random detail, it's a subtle compass, a reminder that your soul entered through a unique doorway, carrying with it a vibration, a challenge, and a calling. When you reflect on it deeply, you don't just uncover more about yourself, you begin to see the poetry of your existence. You see that your life was never accidental. It was patterned, timed, and meaningful, waiting only for your awareness to bring it fully to life. If this message has helped you see your birth month in a new light, leave a comment of reflection. My birth month is a sacred imprint. I honor its wisdom. And if you feel called, like in this video, subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom and turn on the bell so you never miss the guidance your soul has been waiting for. 5. Jung's goal, individuation. Carl Jung taught that the journey of becoming your true self, what he called individuation, is not about self-improvement in the modern sense. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about uncovering what's already within you. Your archetype, the symbolic pattern that lives in your subconscious, is not a limitation, but a mirror. It reflects your inner truth, revealing parts of yourself you may have buried, misunderstood, or forgotten. Recognizing your archetype isn't about fitting into a mold. It's about naming what's been quietly shaping your choices, emotions, and relationships all along. Self-awareness begins the moment you recognize these patterns. When you see them clearly, you begin to reclaim your power. You stop running from your impulses and start understanding their source. A person who constantly sacrifices themselves for others may think they're being loving, but underneath it might be the archetype of the martyr, playing out unresolved fears of rejection or a need for validation. Another person who jumps from relationship to relationship may carry the seeker archetype, always chasing something they haven't found within themselves. Jung's work invites us to stop judging these behaviors and instead decode them, because every pattern holds a deeper meaning, and every archetype carries both shadow and potential. Maya, a woman in her 30s, lived most of her adult life feeling out of place. She had been praised for being dependable and caring, so she became the person who always said yes. But inside, she felt lost. Her dreams kept pulling her in another direction, toward travel, knowledge, freedom. After discovering Carl Jung's theory of archetypes, she realized she wasn't a caregiver at all. She was an explorer. She had suppressed that part of herself to meet expectations, and that suppression left her drained. Once she embraced her true archetype, she made small but powerful changes. She started setting boundaries, saying no, and pursuing experiences that made her feel alive. Her life didn't just change on the surface, it shifted from the inside out. That's individuation. True healing happens when you stop forcing yourself to be who you're not and start honoring who you are. But the process isn't easy. It asks you to face your shadow, the parts of yourself you've rejected. It asks you to revisit childhood wounds, cultural conditioning, and emotional defenses. But this work is sacred. It is the path back to wholeness. Jung reminded us that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Awareness, then, is the beginning of freedom. Your archetype is not here to confine you. It's here to awaken you. It brings spiritual wisdom because it points you inward, not outward. It reminds you that you don't have to become someone else to be whole. You only have to integrate what's been divided within you. This is the work of a lifetime, but it is the most meaningful journey you can take. And through it, you don't just know yourself, you become yourself. If this message resonates with your soul and you're ready to walk the path of self-discovery, repeat after me. I am becoming my truest self. I honor my inner journey and embrace my wholeness. 6. Final reflection. Your birth month is more than a mark on the calendar. It's a symbolic portal into your inner world. Carl Jung believed that nothing about our existence is accidental, and that includes the moment we are born. The month of your birth is deeply tied to archetypal patterns, nature's rhythms, and the unconscious layers of your psyche. It carries the blueprint of your soul's journey, offering clues about your emotional needs, your spiritual path, and the lessons you are meant to embody. To understand this is to begin a subtle yet powerful spiritual awakening, one that aligns you not just with your personal story, but with the larger cosmic design. Each month resonates with a unique psychological energy. These energies aren't just poetic metaphors, They are living truths found in the cycles of nature and echoed in the inner seasons of the human spirit. Being born in April, for instance, may suggest a soul drawn to growth, courage, and renewal, while a December birth often speaks of wisdom, endurance, and the call to inner truth. These aren't superficial traits. They represent deep symbolic forces moving through your life, nudging you towards certain experiences, relationships, and transformations. When you begin to recognize the patterns, you're no longer living on the surface. You're tuning into the sacred. This is where spiritual wisdom plays its part. The more you reflect on your birth month symbolism, the more you begin to connect the dots between your habits, your emotional patterns, and your deepest desires. What once seemed random or difficult begins to take shape with meaning. You might notice, for example, how your energy rises in certain seasons, or how particular inner themes return year after year. These aren't coincidences. They are spiritual signposts, guiding you inward toward integration and growth. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This kind of awareness is subtle but transformative. It doesn't require you to change who you are. It invites you to notice, to listen, and to align. Your birth month becomes a mirror, reflecting not only who you are, but who you are becoming. And in that reflection, you find freedom. You understand your purpose more clearly. You forgive your past more gently. You walk your path more consciously. The real miracle lies in realizing that the timing of your life when you were born, what energy shaped you, was never random. It was sacred. It was intentional. And it is still speaking to you. To affirm your connection with your deeper self, declare your awareness. Comment below, "I align with my soul's rhythm," to honor your journey and inspire others to reflect on the deeper meaning behind their birth month. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the deeper meaning of your birth month. As Carl Jung believed, nothing in our lives is truly random, not even the month we're born in. Each carries a unique symbolic energy that can help illuminate your strengths, your challenges, and your purpose. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and let us know in the comments what you discovered about your own birth month. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos filled with insight, transformation, and soul-level understanding. Your journey to self-awareness is just beginning.